Razorback Nation, we are back with another episode of your Razor recap here on this Sunday afternoon. I am coming to you live from California, visiting some family over the holidays, so bouncing across some time zones here, but it is going to be fun and down to the recaps as always. Arkansas gets the win over Louisiana Tech yesterday to become bowl eligible. Um, you know, I don't know if you feel this way, Austin, but after the game, leaving, talking with my wife, some friends, the consensus for me was even though we won, it didn't really feel like a win yesterday.
Right. If you look at the stat sheet, you look at the scoreboard, you look at everything tangible about that game, you're like, well, you dominated them. That's what you were supposed to do. But when you watched it, it just felt like torture. That's the only word I can think for it. I think, because it's not just that they would mess up and shoot themselves in the foot all the time because they've done that all season. But it's the fact that they just looked so just unenthused, like this is your chance to get a bowl game. This is your chance to extend your season a little bit. And they just didn't come out with any fire. They didn't come out with the defense did, right? I mean, the defense, they rocked it. But on offense, it just didn't seem like it had any energy whatsoever. And, I've been a big fan of Taylor Green this whole time. I mean, I'm a big defender of him. Yesterday, I felt like he should have been sat. Like he did. He probably had the worst performance of the year yesterday. Yesterday. So I don't know what that's about. And I know he's an up and down guy, but that was just really bad. And you can blame some of the, problems on the O-line like we all have. And you can blame a few on, coaching decisions, all that other stuff. But the thing is, when it came down to it and everybody did their job, he didn't, So that's frustrating because, I've put a lot of, I don't want to say my reputation because it's not huge, but my mouth on him, and he kind of blew it up in my face too. So, but the thing is, he didn't do bad statistically. After the first quarter, and a little bit into the second quarter, he started to pick it up and he started to do, normal things. But he still had some just like really, really bad accuracy problems. There was that pick. I'm not sure what he was doing, but he threw it straight to the Louisiana Tech secondary. And it's just like stuff like that. Just not stupid decisions, just not being able to get the ball to the guy. You know what I'm saying? Sailing it over, going a little too low, or just throwing it behind a receiver. And it just wasn't good. So that worries me a little bit. But, like you said, win is a win. They're going to go to a bowl game. You get to see them one more time. So at this point, that's all you could have asked for, just get the win. But still, it sucks to see them come out like that with so much on the line. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. It's one of those things, too, I think when you look at it, like I said, going back to it, I'm just not excited. And, you think about it going back to the preseason, we were only picked to get about 4.5 wins as far as what the projections were. So we've overachieved in that aspect. But as far as the talent on this team, I just think that, and to the talent level we've played at this year, like we've looked really good. And, I feel like, yes, it's great and for these kids to get bowl eligible and get the opportunity to go to bowl game and everything. But I don't know, it seems like, especially when I watched the press conference with Pittman yesterday, that it mixed feelings or mixed kind of words about how he was describing with, well, that's not our goal, but yeah, we're also excited that we get bowl eligible, which is fair. To be able to do that's awesome, especially for all these kids on the team and everything. But the thing that really got me yesterday was seeing pictures of we had shirts made that said bowl season or bowl bound, and to me that seems like you're
Yeah.
celebrating something when that should be expected, not something that you're yes, we did it, so we're going to have these shirts and everything. It kind of just
Yeah.
like it gave me a weird feeling.
Yeah, I didn't see those shirts. Was it the university that put them out, or was it just
Well,
some random?
from the football team were wearing them. Like there's
Oh,
some pictures that surfaced from the locker room that I guess they got passed out in the locker room after the game.
mm, yeah. Well, that to a point. I mean, like context matters, right? For fans that have been here for the entirety of Sam Pittman's tenure, yeah, that doesn't look good. But and I'm playing devil's advocate right here, right? At the same time, you've got these guys that have been on for a year. Some of them's never been to a ball game. You got to think about it. Andrew Armstrong, he's been on the team for 2 years, so he's never been to a ball game, right? Isaac Tesla, all those guys. So it's just a little bit, maybe a little bit extra for them, get to keep them excited or to celebrate those moments for them. But yeah, you're right. As fans, as people who have stayed the course, it's like, come on, man. That's a little much for what you should be doing every year now. But I can see the other side of the argument too, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I see both sides of it too. It's just it was a surprising thing because I hadn't seen us do that before, and then
Hmm.
you had all the clips. Of course, we brought out Larry the bowling ball. Um,
Which that's kind of become a tradition. So I wasn't mad about that. I like Larry, so I
yeah,
think that's a cool thing. But I get what you're saying too. Like it kind of gives you club dub feelings. If it's a little more important than those wins for Chad Morris, but it's kind of like, ugh, it's not a good look, especially nationally. You know, um, and you
yeah,
got people all over the country because it's not just fans who see this, it's not just media members who see it. It's prospective recruits or someone you might try to go after in the transfer portal in the next couple of years. So yeah, it's pretty rough. So it's those things that you got to balance, being able to celebrate it for your team, but also make it look like that it's not your main goal, if that makes sense. And I don't really think the politic part of being a head coach is Sam Pittman's strong suit. You know, he'll say some things that aren't necessarily good with the fan base, or they'll do something that's not necessarily good with the fan base or the media or whatever. And people have their problems with it, but he's just going to do what he wants because, it's probably his last job and he's going to do it the way he wants to do it. And you can't fault a guy for being honest, but there is a thing of, being too honest and being too open, because a lot of people don't want to see that. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying if you want these results, then you got to do these actions. And I think that's probably one of the things he's not very good at, is that politics side of the head coaching deal.
yeah, that's true because that's one thing with Pittman, you get what you see. He's not gonna sugarcoat it for you. He's just gonna put it straight out there, and um, yeah, like you said, some fans aren't the biggest fan of that, and that's how and sometimes how the media perceives things can get a little twisted sometimes.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like you said, it's probably his last head coaching job, and he's going to do it how he wants to. Um, but looking back to the game, a guy that probably had his best game of the season, your guy Rashad Dominion had a heck of a game yesterday. Uh, 15 carries, 112 yards, averaging 7.5 yards a carry. He had that one drive where he marched the ball all the way down the field
Yeah.
himself, having several drives of uh, like 18-yard pickup, a 16-yard pickup, like just doing it all. And
Yeah.
unfortunately for him, he gets pulled out, and the following play, Jaquindon Jackson comes
Yeah.
in and gets the score. I felt so bad
Yeah.
for him because you see, he gets one breather, and then the other guy comes in and gets the touchdown after you did all the work.
You know what? Quentin Jackson, man, that dude's just a touchdown hog. He used to do the work though, so I'm not too big. I'm not. That was just a joke, but still, yeah, Rashad looked good, man. And this is what I've said. Like he looks. The thing I wish he had was just a little bit more meat on his bones, because there was a couple times that he would, kind of just bounce off and get tackled. But other times he was driving and pushing piles like 3 or 4 yards. Now that you brought it up, so I kind of want to talk about it. But the rushing game was great, right? You had 233 yards on the ground, but most of that, all but like 25 yards of that, was in the second, third, and fourth quarter. That first quarter that was so disgustingly awful. I just didn't feel like they could get anything going on the ground. There was a lot of negative plays. I think they had negative 11 yards. I can't remember. I can look it up. But still, it's that that is what can help you open up that passing game, right? That can help you open up your entire offense. It's one of the things everybody talks about with nearly every offense. The only offense that you don't talk about it with is like the air raid, right? So, and they just couldn't get it going, and the offensive line was having some problems run blocking at first, and I mean, you saw that with Coach Pittman like giving it to him during one of the breaks. I didn't see it, but everyone was talking about it on Twitter. So, yeah, they had negative 11 yards rushing in the first quarter. So,
yeah, that's not great at all. But yeah, like you said, and then flipping back to Taylor Rue, we talked about, if you take away that first quarter, man has a pretty good game because you take away that interception. You look at his stat line for the day. He went 20 of 37 for 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception, and then also gets it done on the ground a little bit, 6 carries for 61 yards and 2 touchdowns as well. And so I think that's the thing that you have to get with him. You're going to have some inconsistencies in the passing game, but on the flip side of that, he makes up for some of that on the ground. And I think when you look at it, and not saying this in any negative way, Taylor Green to me is more of a guy that is a athlete that plays quarterback instead of a quarterback that is an athlete, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. And that's the thing is there's a lot of people who complain about him holding on to the ball too long. And that's what I think I've said it more than once on here. He needs to stop, trying to be that pocket passer, right? You don't see anybody open in your first 1 or 2 reads. Your offensive line hasn't been able to hold many people. Go, just take off. Stop trying to take the big play. He also doesn't like to take checkdowns. So that's also a big pet peeve of mine, because on that interception, there were like 2 or 3 guys open, right? Especially, I'm not sure who it was. I think it was a tight end. It wasn't Pasca or Haas.
Oh, it's probably Maddox Lassiter.
Yeah. And he's just this little route underneath, and he's completely wide open. If he had caught it, he probably would have went for 7 or 8 yards, at least got the first down. And no, he went for the big play and got intercepted. There was another one where I think it was tight ends too. I don't know why he doesn't like to throw to tight ends, which makes me upset too. There was one guy just wide open down the field. I don't know, like right down the seam. I don't know if you saw that. It was like the second or third drive. But he gets, I don't think he gets sacked. I think he throws it away. But he just held on to it forever, and there was like hardly any pressure. And I'm like, dude, what are you looking at? The guy is wide open. There was no one around him. I'd have to send it to you and show you which play I'm talking about. But that's one of the things I just didn't understand what was going on with him yesterday.
Yeah, I agree 100%. There's several times, like you said, where it seems like it's almost like he's locking in on one guy. And, there were several times yesterday watching the game where you're sitting there watching it and you're seeing the play unfold. And, we're, as fans getting to see the whole perspective of the field and not being downfield level like he is. You see this several plays or instances where guys are wide open and he's just not seeing it. And like literally the fans are screaming, that this guy is wide open. And then he tries to either force it to somebody or, like you said, holds it too long and he's either flushed out of the pocket or, has to throw it away or something.
Yeah. So, and I don't want to bag on him too much. The win is a win, but I'm honestly, I'm surprised they didn't pull him. I really am.
I mean, that's what I literally next to one of my buddies at the game that was my same take. I was like, after not having a lot of offensive production last week against Texas, you come into this week. I said, if the way that we played the first half, how do you not come out of halftime and give Malachi Singleton a shot?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how they didn't give him a shot in the second quarter. It was just bad. But I mean, he did, pick it up in the second. Crap ton of rushing. He had that one like 40-yard rushing touchdown. So you gotta reward it whenever they do good stuff. So, but still, yeah, I don't know. But rushing game was on point. And the thing is, like you said, you take away that first quarter, statistically, you had a good game. Let's see. 221 yards, passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He had 54% completion, but I mean, that's kind of normal for him. So I think you are frozen. Let's see. Not sure who can hear me. Sorry, folks, if you can hear me, that we might be having some kind of technical stuff. Yeah, he just texted me. Hang on one second. His computer just shut down and restarted. So yeah, it's just me. Yeah. Again, sorry about that. So I'll just keep on going. But yeah, Taylor Green had a good game outside of that first quarter. It just I don't know. It looked bad. But we can go to the receivers, man. Armstrong had a great game. First, there he is. Ha! And I was trying to lead it without you, so I kept going. But I started talking about receivers. I was going into Armstrong and how he's joined an exclusive club, right? One of 5 receivers in Arkansas history to have over 1,000 yards in the season. Still got 2 games left. So that's a big deal, right?
100%. It's one of those things where, that's not an easy task. And, like you said, this is an exclusive club where, especially where he came from, coming from a smaller school, and then being able to come and have that production at the D1 level in the SEC is fantastic. And, I saw a tweet, either it was late last night or today, where he said, man, watching all that Colby Hamilton film came in. Came in.
Yeah. And, he's out of all the guys you can talk about, the ones who had natural talent coming out of high school. Like, yeah, it's awesome that they get to go and live their dream in the NFL, but this guy worked his butt off, right? Started from pretty much the bottom and worked himself into being probably one of the best wide receiver options in this next year's draft. And that's just like something that should be written about, like follow his story and do it like a ESPN 30 for 30 on it. That would be cool.
Yeah, it's like Pig Pen says here. Armstrong is in the league all by himself. He for a majority of the season, he was sitting at second in the SEC in receiving yards behind Trey Harris from Ole Miss. And Trey Harris has missed several games this season. I think he might have surpassed him because he didn't play yesterday.
Yeah, he did.
But so he leads the league in receiving yards, and like you said, from how hard he's worked, and he's really played himself into a potential draft pick, and a guy that you could see on Sundays being one of those key core guys that you can count on. When the ball comes their way, that he's going to make that catch. I mean, you even saw him yesterday. He had a fantastic one-handed catch. He takes he finds ways to come down with the ball, even though he may be bracing for a hit, whatever. He's a guy that 99% of the time he's going to catch the ball. Yes, unfortunately, yesterday he did have that fumble where he was coming on that crossing route, got the ball. As soon as he got the ball, the defender was on him. But that's not going to happen often.
Yeah, and you hear people talk about it a lot. If you watch people who do like reactions on highlights, people who don't follow Arkansas football, they're like, that dude looks like CeeDee Lamb, and it's probably because of the dreads, but that's cool comp,
Yeah.
And here's the thing, like, I'm not saying this for, to make any argument whatsoever, but of those 5 receivers on that list, 2 of them have been under Sam Pittman. And then now 2 of them have been under Bobby Petrino. I think it's just 2. No, 3 under Bobby Petrino. So right now you have like, quote unquote, the accolades, I guess, going into next season. And I don't want to, I don't know if you want to talk about it or not, but the whole Sam Pittman leaving or not, it's like right now it feels like the vibe that he's going to stay. And you can be mad about it, you can be happy about it. I have my own feelings about it, which I don't ever like talk about it because I don't want it to sway anybody's opinion on it. But still, that's at least one thing he can bring to the table, in negotiations or whatnot. But still, we still had Tesla get 2 touchdowns yesterday on 2 catches. So
where's that been all season? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I think we've talked about it several times on the show. It's like, nothing against Broden, but like, it seems like this season, anytime Tesla has been in the game, he's had great performances, but he just wasn't getting put in the game frequently enough. And I want to slide this in real quick before we continue. A quick note: we were talking about wide receivers. Recruiting update: Arkansas lands 2026 4-star wide receiver DeQuan Prevost, who picked Arkansas over Texas, Oklahoma, and Penn State.
When did that happen?
Probably 10-15 minutes ago. I'm seeing it on Twitter, reported by Richard Davenport.
Well, heck yeah, that's nice.
So talking about great receivers.
Let's see. It hasn't been added to 24/7. It looks like. What was his name again?
Probably DeQuan Prevost. I think it just now broke.
On Prevost. That's cool though. That's nice. So yeah, 24/7 Sports has them as a 89, but their composite has them as a 4-star, borderline 4-star, 90, 2.5. So yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I'm seeing the tweet from On3 Sports, Chad Simmons, 2 minutes ago. He said, Arkansas, a quote from Prevost, has said, Arkansas has been recruiting me for a few years, and they recruited me hard. They made me feel wanted.
Awesome. Wait, I think I was also looking at 2025. But yeah, good. That 2026 class is not bad. Not a bad start. Right now they're ranked number 10, and they've got, including him, it'd be 2 4-stars, and then they've got a couple borderline guys. So, they've still got a year or so left to raise those and get their stock up a little bit, but still, those stars don't really make a whole lot of difference sometimes. But they're 4 stars for a reason, right? They're out there, they're showing what they have, and more times than not, that's an accurate gauge of what they can actually do. So yeah, that's cool. Awesome.
Yeah, I mean you love to see that, especially in a class 2 years from now. That seems to give confidence. But like you mentioned a while ago, and Pigpen's asking about it too. So, um, what do you think of Sam's answer in the press conference regarding his job that he's not worried about and haven't been? That's been my feeling I've gotten from him all year, just because I've said I try, for the most part, to listen to the post game conference after the game live, and I've said it from, I think after the Oklahoma State game going forward, that when a little bit more pressure has been coming on him, that he doesn't sound like he had any urgency, if you know what I mean. Like he just, you know, whether we win or whether we lose, his tone's the same in the press conference. He doesn't seem to get overly excited or, overly upset. You know how you have some Brian Kelly just slamming the fist on the presser, and
Yeah.
and I think that's something I want to see from him. I want to see that excitement, or like when we lose, especially like Ole Miss. Let me see some frustration. Let me see that you're upset and that like um and I know he cares about the program. He talks about like
Yeah.
he even said in that same around that same um answer that Big Man was talking about how he's going to fight like hell as long as he's here. So I mean it's a weird feeling because he cares, but sometimes that feeling is not put off by the way he answers or his attitude in press conferences.
Right. And I don't think that's how he means it. Like I know how it might come off. But this has to do with it being his last job. I mean, you could see it when he was walking off the field yesterday. The man it hurts to walk for him. And I have somebody who does a lot of things with the university, and she says that when he's on camera, he hides it really well. But he is not, in a good place physically right now. So, at one point, he's like, in his mind, he's probably thinking, you know what? I'm gonna do it how I want to do it. If I get fired, if I get fired, like I'm not worried about losing my job. I'm gonna go here and do what I think is best, not what other people will think is best, and I'm not gonna, But I get what you're saying. That's part of the politicking that he's not very good at. So
Yeah.
yeah, and so I don't think it's like a cockiness or like I'm not worried about it. I can do whatever I want, and they're not going to fire me. I don't think it's that.
Right.
I think it's what I was saying, that he's got, he knows he doesn't have a whole lot of time left doing it. And he's going to do how he wants to do it.
Exactly.
So,
It's like, yeah, especially what you're talking about, he's already established that he's having that, hip replacement after the Missouri game before the bowl game. But man, I felt bad for him yesterday watching him walk the field for senior day whenever he was going to each individual guy. That had to be tough for him walking, you know, for the most part, the entire length of the field. That had to be rough.
yeah. And, to a point, you want to see that excitement and everything like that, right? But you don't want to have a team that's too up and too down. You got to roll through the waves the best you can. And that's kind of which on the field, you would see Nick Saban get way more fired up than Sam Pittman. But at the same time, during like pressers and stuff like that, it he's still more animated than Sam Pittman, but he was still level headed about stuff. You know, he
Mm-hmm.
didn't like get over the top. But yeah, I would like to see a little bit more fire out of him too. But I don't know. He might be just tired. like
As I say,
I'm not even kidding you, man. I saw him walking and it just I don't know, man. He just looks like he has a peg leg almost. Like he just puts weight on it and then goes back off, and that sucks, man. I've never had that type of injury, but I work with someone who does, and he has hip problems like that, and he tells me all the time about how much it hurts and stuff like that. So yeah, I can feel for him, and he might just be tired in those pressers. He's too tired to be, and that's going to be a big criticism with people, right? Is he too tired to be the head coach at Arkansas? We love Stan Pittman, but is he going to be able to physically do the things that head coaches need to do? And not every time you have these type of surgeries, they're going to be successful. And the rehab process on top of that, how's that going to affect recruiting? So yeah, I can see that being a big issue after the Missouri game, people talking about it. So,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I agree 100% there. It's one of those things where uh, you feel for him, and you know it's gotta have been a long season because he said he found out about that before the season started, but it was too close to the start of the season that he didn't want to have that done and potentially miss some games. So um, we'll see. You know, it was a good win, I will say, to get bowl eligible. That you know, I don't want to downplay that. It's good that we were able to do that as a program, even though you think about it, like we said earlier, we weren't projected to even get to close to 6 wins. It was 4.
Mhm.
But if you look at the schedule, I think the thing that gets people is how bad some of the home losses were, some of the games that
Yeah.
we should have won.
It's like
But
Old Miss.
yeah, you
Like
get
they
beat by
just got their
30 at
bus beat
home.
by yeah, and then they get beat by Florida yesterday. Like what the heck? And that kind of just has to go with how weird the SEC is too, right? But still, you getting beat by 30 points like that, having 60 dropped on you at home, that's not okay.
Yeah, and then you can turn around and play Texas and hold them to 20 points at home and get within, a potential chance of beating them. It's crazy, and it's like the up and down that you talked about. But,
Yeah.
Arkansas will wrap up the regular season this Saturday on the road at Missouri, which I feel like is a very winnable game. You know, compared to their record and what their projections will be, Missouri's not that great this year. I mean, that's just the truth. I mean, and I feel like if the season Arkansas has played very well on the road, surprisingly, seem to be played better on the road than at home. So hopefully that's got to bode well for hopefully maybe finishing the season strong, hitting that 7 win mark, and then you talking about a potential bowl game making it 8.
Yeah. Just to piggyback or to go back just a little bit, the reason why this feels so bad, even though they've done way better than what we were projected to do, and even if they beat Missouri and the bowl game, you still feel a little, I guess, I don't know, icky inside, right? You feel a little bad about this season. It's because you saw the talent on the field, right? I mean, fans are not as dumb as some people want to think. We see what's happening on there. We see the potential in these guys. We see the great plays you have. It's just we also see those stupid decisions that happen, those stupid turnovers, stuff like that happen, and we know where they could have been this year. Like, I was talking to my brother-in-law yesterday, and I was thinking, if they would have beat Oklahoma State, if they would have beat A&M, right? Because those two games were pretty close. And then if they would have beat Texas, like if they'd have pulled that off and they win out this season, you flip that 7-5 to a 10-2, and you're talking about someone that's in the playoffs right now, right? That's how close they
100%.
are. And you got to think, I mean, if they go, they're undefeated going into that game against LSU. Do you think maybe their mentality is a little better? Do you think maybe they'll play a little better because they're a little bit more confident? I don't know. And you can argue all day that's not how it should be. Well, people are people. They have emotions. They have things that affect them other than, just the physical circumstances around them. So, yeah, they're not machines. That's going to happen. But, yeah, you're right. They should have played to the best of their ability every single time, but that's just not what happens. So, it's just, I hate being so freaking close to stuff like that, and it just never working out.
Exactly. And I mean, I think that plays into the point that Pigpen, is saying here. I think how we win and how we lose definitely matters. We win ugly, but then the losses are even uglier. And I mean, you want to talk about an ugly loss. It seems like week after week that loss to Oklahoma State looks worse and worse and worse because they are not living up to the expectations of what I think they were projected to be. Especially they were expected to be one of the top teams in the Big 12, having all that experience returning on offense, a very senior led offensive line, Ollie Gordon back. And, they're just flat out terrible this year. And, that loss week after week with you see them getting beat and it just doesn't look great. And I think that plays into Pigpen's point. That loss is ugly. And so,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. It's just that just goes along with it. Potential. You see the potential, and then you see the bad things happening. Like this, there's a lot of people who are talking about, oh, look, the SEC sucks this year, blah blah blah. All that stuff, just like they always do. But you gotta look at it as these guys are just killing themselves, right? There's so many of those. I don't know what you would call it, like the rock, paper, scissors moments, like Vandy beat Bama, Bama beat South Carolina, and South Carolina beat Vandy, stuff like that. That's happened this year. You can do it with Florida. Florida beat Kentucky. Kentucky beat Oklahoma or Ole Miss. Ole Miss beat, South Carolina. South Carolina beat Kentucky. Florida beat South Carolina. So you have all these intertwined games like this, and the parity is just crazy in the SEC.
yeah, it's
And
just conference and implosion.
right. And those little mistakes, that's what's going to be the difference between a win and a loss now, right?
Yeah.
In this type of conference. And the thing is, you have people who are like, well, Indiana should be in it because they've won, all their games, and I don't, have they played Oklahoma State yet or Ohio State yet? I'm not sure.
Yeah, they got beat pretty bad yesterday. I think it was like 38-15.
Yeah, they got destroyed because they have like the 109th best or worst strength of schedules. So those wins and those losses aren't equal, right? And I'm not saying that the SEC should have 7 people, or 7 teams in the 12-team playoff. I'm not saying that. I think 4 should probably be the most, because I want to see a little bit of variety. Still, like you can't say that the SEC is bad because they beat each other up. That's not how it works. And then you have stupid things like Arkansas getting destroyed by, or not destroyed, but beat by Oklahoma State. So I don't know.
Well, you got to think about how Tennessee feels to have a loss to Arkansas as well.
Oh yeah. And then they have another loss to Georgia, right? Yeah. So they're 8-2. Or they're 9-2 right now, aren't they?
Yeah.
So yeah,
they got the win yesterday.
Yeah, but you got to think, hey, Tennessee's probably feeling pretty good right now because they're probably not going to the SEC championship, but they're still high enough to where they're going to make to the college football playoffs.
Yeah,
so
one of those at-large bids.
Yeah, so they're kind of like, hey, you know what? Why not get in the SEC championship, but we're going to the playoffs? And if they were to go to the SEC championship and lose, they probably won't be in the playoffs. So that's one of the things that is a big topic right now. Like, why are we playing SEC championship games whenever it's just going to hurt us if we lose? That's why I think the college football playoff committee should not. They probably shouldn't do any more. What do you call them? Rankings after the end of the regular season, and then go off of those rankings for whenever you build the playoffs, and just use if there was a team that won an SEC championship or a conference championship that wasn't expected. So, like if A&M's outside of the top 25 or the top 12 and they end up going to the SEC championship somehow and beating whoever they are, they would be entered in instead of the 12th team or whoever it is. So it's complicated what I'm trying to say, but still that's a big topic right now. Going to the SEC is most likely just going to hurt people instead of help them. So, and that one bye isn't a big enough, reward for winning the SEC championship or ACC championship.
Yeah, 100% agree there. Just because I was curious, I decided to pull it up and look. We're talking about the college football playoffs and Arkansas being bowl eligible now. Well, after our win and getting bowl eligible projections for Arkansas's bowl game, you've got a few different projections here. Let me just get your thoughts on these. I'm not surprised, but the first one here is Kyle Bonagura of ESPN has Arkansas to face Baylor in the Liberty Bowl.
Liberty Bowl, yeah, I'd figure like Liberty Bowl or Texas Bowl or something like that. But
hey, another one here, his colleague at ESPN projects Arkansas to face North Carolina in the Birmingham Bowl. And then the last one I see here is Jerry Palmer of CBS Sports predicts Arkansas to play Kansas State in the Liberty Bowl. So 2 projections for the Liberty Bowl, 1 for the Birmingham Bowl. I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe the Music City Bowl thrown out there as well. That seems like a common one for Arkansas, especially if you think geographically.
Yeah. Dude, that if they were to play UNC, that would be a cool game because you got Criswell over there right now. I don't know if he's still starting, but he started a lot this year. Let me go check.
But that's what I had in my mind. I was like, telling myself if we do get bowl eligible, there's probably a pretty good chance. They love to put Arkansas in the Liberty Bowl.
Yeah, the Liberty Bowl loves Arkansas. If we're choosing between Kansas State and Baylor, I want to play Baylor because they've played Kansas State so many times. Just to get a little bit fresher teams in there. But that's not bad. That's just what it is. When you go 6-6, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's going to change if they go 7-5 though.
Yeah, I mean,
if they do, how much it would.
Right.
Because whenever they go ahead, sorry.
I was about to say that's the tough thing is like you get another win over a Missouri team that despite what we've said at the end of the year doesn't have that many losses. I mean, that would look good for Arkansas to have. They're ranked 23rd. They got the win yesterday over Mississippi State. So you go and beat a quote unquote ranked team. I mean, that could help your bowl stock tremendously.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, quote unquote ranked team. I don't know how they're still ranked. That's insane. The only SEC team that hasn't got a win against a team in the top 25 whenever they played is Mississippi State and Missouri. And you're telling me Missouri is still a top 25 team? No. So, but it's going to look good for us whenever we beat them in the top 25 team.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they also haven't won at Columbia, so I'm not trying to be cocky.
Yeah, that's the tough part.
Yeah.
Especially based on what they did to us in Fayetteville last year.
Yeah. Hopefully we can return the favor.
Yeah, that would be nice. Nisha says here, this is a good question. Based on how things went this year in the SEC so far, do we think a 9-game SEC season would be good for the SEC?
Okay, so the SEC, in terms of making the playoffs, no, it wouldn't be good, right? Because they'll just beat each other up.
I was about to say, you have an extra week of what's happened this season already.
Yeah.
Like, you see everybody just, like, Oklahoma flat out blew out Alabama last night.
Right.
Like,
but here's my argument against it, right? Because I'm a big proponent of going to 9 games because I want to have, and this is totally, it's built on selfishness, but I have reasons to back it up, right? Selfishly, I want to see Arkansas play 3 permanent opponents a year. I don't want to just see one because we're going to get Missouri and that's going to suck. And I'm not going to like it. So I want to see 3 of, permanent opponents a year. But they also will have another week of craziness and a lot more people watching those weeks. So instead of having that FCS team that you beat up, you're going to have more people watching those games. So I
like
don't know if it's really
that would be.
it.
I was going to say, so that'd be like this week. Instead of playing Louisiana Tech, you're playing, I don't know, Vandy, Kentucky. I mean, just whoever.
Yeah.
An additional SEC game.
Yeah, I don't know what the revenue difference would be, right? But I also think you would still have 2 or 3 SEC teams in the college football playoffs. So if they're worried about that, I don't know why, because you're going to have teams in the playoff. It doesn't matter because you're always going to have teams that go, 10-2 or 11-1. Not just the undefeateds. No one in the league right now is undefeated. So, and they're probably going to have 2 or 3 teams in the playoffs by when it's all said and done. So, I don't necessarily agree with the argument, but that's the way that they're going to see it, is they're going to say no. But yeah, I would selfishly, as a college football fan, I would love to see them go 9 games. As a conference, I don't think they feel that way, especially after this year.
Yeah, that's fair. Especially, as much as teams have beat up on each other, I can see the thought from both sides. Like you said, don't know what the difference is in revenue is, but you got to think that an initial SEC game would be better than, like you said, an FCS game. So,
and I'm just gonna, because it made me think of this. The argument about how games aren't going to matter as much with an expanded playoff. How many games are in play right now? I know one. Like next week, when Clemson plays South Carolina, that's a potential play-in game, right? Clemson and South Carolina. You told me if you would have told me 3 weeks ago that that's a potential play-in game, I'd be like, you're crazy. There's no way. But now it's true. I mean, there's so many more important games, and there's so many games throughout the season that you've had to watch because you didn't know what was going to happen. So that whole argument about the expanded playoffs making the regular season less interesting and less important, completely blown out of the water this year.
100%. So, yeah, as we kind of wrap up the football talk here, Arkansas does get the win against Louisiana Tech, gets bowl eligible. Kind of some mixed feelings there. Glad to see us get bowl eligible, but we know the potential was a lot higher than that. Even though the projections for Arkansas was only 4 wins on the season. So Arkansas will be taking on Missouri this coming Saturday. Moved the game. Normally, this game has been for the as long as I can remember on Black Friday. Now it's going to be on Saturday this year in Columbia. I believe that kickoff is at is it 3 o'clock kickoff? 12:30.
I actually don't know.
12:30 kickoff. Yes, so 12:30 Saturday versus Missouri for the final regular season game of the season. Would love to, like Austin said earlier, return the favor of that beatdown that we took last year, and yeah. So now we'll jump over to Arkansas basketball. Arkansas played in-state opponent Little Rock on Friday night and got the win 79-67. Where this team, they were shorthanded again. No Brazil, no Jonas Adu once again. We'll see what happens as they take the court again tomorrow before they have their big game against Illinois on Thanksgiving Day. But Arkansas comes out, gets the win here. Still a work in progress. They had stretches where this team looked really good, and then stretches that left you kind of scratching your head a little bit. You come out, Adu Thiero, I mean, we've said it all season. He come out and did his thing again, 23 points. Played 29 minutes, 7 of 9 from the field. Missed his only three-point attempt, 9 of 10 from the free throw line. 8 rebounds on the night. Had 6 steals. He was a +6 in the, plus minus. So, he has continued to be the guy for Arkansas this season.
Yeah. And I feel like this is going to happen all season. And it's because of the depth, right? There's a philosophy of only playing like 8-9 guys, and that's what Muss did, right? And that's pretty much what Cal does. But the problem is, once you get one injury, I mean, it puts a big toll on those guys.
I was about to say that talent drop off after 9 is a lot more significant, I think, compared to maybe some of the rosters Muss had. You got to think, because these other guys that are on the roster, when they came in, Cal probably had that conversation saying, hey, you're past that 9 mark. You're more than welcome to come here. We may need you for depth at some point if we do, like you said, run into injury issues and things like that. But majority of the time, you're probably not going to see the court.
Yeah. And I think that's what you saw yesterday. For the first 10 minutes, they looked good, right? They're beating the tar out of them, like up by 20 points in the first 10 minutes. Around that. And then they just started to, and really it happened on defense. They stopped being as aggressive on defense. They stopped trying to go for the steal all the time. I mean, the first 10 minutes, they had 10 steals, something like that. And they capitalized on almost all of them. Like, that's incredible. And I feel like, have you ever run track or anything like that? Like in high school?
I have not.
Okay, so whenever you do distance, and I didn't run track, but I threw, and I have a best friend who did distance. But whenever you're doing distance, you start fast, and then you slow down and you keep a pace, and then you finish fast. And it just feels like they're putting all their energy into that first little burst, and they don't have enough to sustain themselves through the middle, if that makes sense. Because they looked sluggish, even right after half, when they had 15, 20 minutes to sit there and, cool down. Right out of half, they just didn't look good either. So I think that really has to do with only playing 7 guys. So, I don't know, man. I think that's going to come back to bite them this year more than once.
Yeah, I agree there. That's the big thing, is you want to get guys healthy and keep guys healthy. I will agree. Pigpen here says, rebounding was much better in this game, but defending the 3 is still struggling. We've seen teams come in the past 2 games. You look at Little Rock now, and then Pacific, the previous game, both of those teams coming in and shooting the 3 well, but the defending there, overall as a whole, the Arkansas defense has played well this year. But that's one thing that I think maybe some emphasis needs to be put on is defending that three ball
Yeah.
and hitting your rotation because that's what I see is the opponent. They're swinging the passes around and or kicking it out, and the rotation isn't there to, as soon as that pass is made, the defender is hitting his spot.
And I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but that has a lot to do with, being tired.
Yeah.
Because whenever you play out on the perimeter like that, you're gonna have to run a lot more. And whenever you're playing man like that, or it's just there's just so much more you're gonna have to physically do to play defense, and yeah, they're just tired, man. I'm telling you, it just looks like they're tired. And to be fair, they got off like 22 shots, but they only hit 6 of them, so they were like 27% from beyond the arch. But rebounding was better. But the one that I really want to look at is offensive rebounds. They beat Arkansas by 5. They had 13 offensive rebounds. Arkansas had 8. So that's something they got. You have what do you call them? Big Z there. You're 7'2", dude. You should be able to get those when you're playing guys who aren't bigger than 6'8". And that's just a effort, physicality part to it. That's why I think like Big Z has got like great skill set. I just want to see him get stronger and more beefy, like put some meat on him, right? And I think he's going to be probably one of the best centers in the country, but especially with a 3-point shot like he has. But yeah, that's got to get better. You can't let him get offensive rebounds like that. And offensive rebounds, I feel like they're more like a luxury than a necessity to do. But still, you have a 7'2" guy, right? Let's get some, more than 8. Second chance points. Arkansas still beat them on second chance points, though. So they still had 12 points. Euler had 11. So at least they made a difference there.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say too. You look at it, Big Z. He played 25 minutes, scored 10 points, 3 of 5 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3, 3 of 4 from the line. Only 3 rebounds though. That's like you said. Yeah. You're 7'2". I feel like you should be padding the stats when it comes to rebounds. And I think that's the mentality of up until with the depth issues, he's more of a stretch big instead of or he's used to playing a stretch big instead of kind of the big that's going to be more consistently in the post play. And I think that's what you're seeing here because you got to think once Brazile or Adu or they both come back, Big C is not going to be playing down low as much as he is right now.
Yeah. And I think one of the problems is that he's so tall and he's so big that he thinks he can keep his arms stretched out with the ball and keep it away from people. And I think he needs to just bring it into his body. And, that's part of being physical. Bring it in and, throw a couple elbows and get people off of you. That's what you got to do. And he just kind of just holds it like this. And you'll have guys that are 6'8", but they can dunk. So, they're obviously going to be able to get up there. And I saw that more than once against Euler. So, yeah. But like you said, when Brazile and Adu actually come in, and I'm excited to see Adu. I really liked him at Tennessee. And it sucks that I haven't been able to see him yet. But I'm talking about people. It sucks this, what's happened so far the season is Jarnell Davis. I mean, 0 for 3 from deep and then 1 for 5 from the field. The guy's just he's not getting looks, I guess, or he's getting looks. He's just not getting.
He's not knocking him down.
Yeah. And they kind of hit on it during the broadcast that at FAU, he was the guy handling the the ball, and he was running the offense. So I think he might, as well as dealing with that wrist injury, he might be getting used to playing off the pass or off the bounce, stuff like that, instead of just pulling up and shooting like he was whenever he was there. So
Yeah, I agree there. It's Pigpen here says Wagner and his air balls too, man. Holy cow. He does have some of those from
yeah,
time to time, but I mean, he did go 3 of 6 from last night. At least he's attempting to score. That game against, I believe it was Troy. He came out and had 0 points. You just can't do that. I'd rather see him going, um, 4 of 10, scoring 11 points, shooting 3 of 6 from the deep than putting up a big fat 0 on the score column.
yeah. And the thing is, whenever he's set, he's got his feet set and he catches it, he shoots it off a pass. It's money. Like I feel like it's whenever he shoots it, I don't feel like it's gonna miss every single time. Now, if he shoots off the dribble, then I'm a little bit worried about it. But Boogie Flan, dude, 3 for 5, and he had some that were just nasty. Like,
Oh yeah,
I'm
and from
so happy they
three,
got that guy.
I was about to say, and some of Boogie's is even from like or NBA deep threes
hmm
as well. Like he can just flat out shoot the ball. But I want to look up something. So you're talking about Nelly Davis and his struggles this year. He was a guy last year at FAU from 3 point shot 41.4%. This year he is currently 4 of 19 and shooting 21%.
Yeah.
50%. He is down 50% on his shooting percentage, and you got to wonder how much can you keep equating that to that wrist injury. I mean, that's going to play a little bit
hmm
into it. We talked about that, but also, like you said, he's playing a little bit different role than what he did at FAU, and is that is he having to adjust to more an off-ball role compared to the on-ball role he had at FAU?
Yeah. You know what? I wonder if they'll experiment with that and let him run a few plays. I mean, I don't know how you can like really justify that with Wagner and Flan back there. But I feel like those guys could probably do well when they're not running the offense. And John L is not. So I
Yeah,
mean, why not try it? See if he can create his own looks, stuff like that. Uh, but other than that, I don't know, man. That's just a head scratcher. I hope he does well. I hope he gets better. And I think if Arkansas is going to do well this season, he's got to be better. Especially with the depth they have.
yeah. I was about to say he's got to get it going. I mean, you look at Arkansas last night; they shot 30% from the 3 point line, going 7 of 24, which isn't terrible. I mean, that's
Yeah.
right around that mark that Cal said he wants his team shooting about 23, 24 threes and making, around eight of them. So you're right there. But the other thing that I'm looking at when you were talking about depth issues a while ago, you look at it, you have 3 guys last night, all with 4 fouls. That's where also, guys being hurt, a depth issue
Mhm.
comes into, a problem. You had Aduthio with 4, Big Z with 4, and Billy Richmond with 4.
Yep. Yep. That's a big one too. I don't know, man. They're gonna have to figure it out.
I mean,
That's all
Boogie
I can
also had
say.
3.
Yeah. Um, I don't know, man. That sucks. It really does. Um, but it is what it is. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
I was about to say, you don't have really many options around that, just based
Yeah.
off his roster build. So, because if you look at it, Boogie Flan and DJ Wagner both each played 38 minutes. So they were off the court for 2 minutes
hmm
in the entire game. The next closest person you had in minutes in this game was Janelle Davis with 31 minutes. And then you drop down to 29 for Adu. 25 for Big Z, 20 for Billy Richmond, Carter Knox with 18. And Carter Knox for a minute, this guy is still struggling. I mean, I think he'll come onto his own in the season, but 0 for 6 from the 3-point line, 2
Yeah.
of 11 from the field, and 2 of 4 from the free throw line. His freshman year is not starting out too great, being very inconsistent. And, I was surprised at how much he kept shooting last night, or kept shooting the ball after, you miss 4 already and you're going to shoot 2 more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get, trying to persevere through that and not let it bother your confidence, but at what point does that start hurting the team too?
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know. I'm a little bit worried about Knox. I think he'll progress, but I don't know if he'll progress that much. I just feel like he's got to stop taking threes. I mean, I feel like he should be doing half what he is.
Yeah,
At most 3 attempts a game. Not until you can get at least over, 30%.
right.
And then still, I think 3 might be too many. But also the other thing, he went 2 of 11 from the field, so he just wasn't very good at all. 2 for 5. That's, I don't know.
Yeah.
And like you said, he's a freshman, but we're talking about freshmen. Why don't we talk about Billy Richmond? I mean, that dude, I feel like he is a baby Adu Thero, right? This, like, the way that the energy that they play, right? In kind of the role that he plays when he goes in
Very
there.
much instant spark plug when he gets inserted
Yeah.
in that game. It's like, I think Coach Cal called him out, a couple of games ago. He said, talking about the press, he said, whenever we put Billy Richmond in the game, he's his own one man press. Like,
Yeah. And let's look at this. So, hang on. How many minutes did he play?
he played
Played
20 minutes.
20 minutes, and he had the second most rebounds on the team. So he played the second to least amount of minutes and had the second to most amount of rebounds. Rebounds is an
Getting after
effort.
it.
Right. Rebounds is an effort stat. Like, that guy has effort out the where. So I mean, I don't know why he's not playing him as much. Maybe it's because, he kind of fills that role that Adu does. Shoot, I don't know. Put them both in. Especially if they need somebody to play defense, I feel like both of them be great. But yeah.
I mean, I think that's one of the things too. Coach Cal said, you see him, he, like you said, played 20 minutes, but had the second most rebounds on the team. He's a guy that Coach Cal said that's the way to get more playing time. You come out there and, you go fight for those rebounds and stuff. And I think that's what you're going to see. These guys that are coming out there, and he's going to give this 110%, and it's going to get him more playing time. And just to look it up for comparison, we said a while ago, DJ Wack or Janelle Davis was 4 of 19 from the 3-point line. Carter Knox is 1 of 14 on the season. He's shooting 6%.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I'm gonna let Davis keep going. I'm gonna, like, in my heart, like, I'm gonna feel like he needs to keep going, because I think he just needs to see that ball go through the hoop.
Well, and he has
On a
the stats
consistent
behind
basis.
him to support that he is a
Yeah.
good shooter.
Right. Knox doesn't. Not at this level. Right. So yeah, I feel like those attempts need to be flipped, because he had 3, Knox had 6 attempts. We need to flip that.
Yeah, 100%.
And I mean, if you look at the plus and minus too, I don't, I think that's kind of a cool stat to look at. Don't necessarily put a whole lot of stock into it. He was plus 20. He had the highest plus minus margin out of anybody on the team. So when he's in, they're scoring. I don't know what it is, because he's not getting assists. But maybe the defense feels like they have to guard him just because of what he's done in the past. I don't know. But that's take that for what it's worth. Let's see. There was something else I wanted to pull up on him. Hang on.
I was about to say, and while you're looking that up, you know, I'm just hoping, this is a learning curve that Carter Knox is going through because, at SEC Media Days and in preseason, Coach Cal was giving Carter Knox high praise, and was really saying, he thinks he could be better than his brother was that played for Coach Cal at Kentucky, and his brother was a top 10 draft pick. So, that's a lot to say about a kid, and for him to be struggling, and maybe he's just adjusting and really trying to figure out his role on the team this year, and at the college level, compared to we can tell Boogie was ready to go from day one.
Yeah,
maybe Carter Knox is one of those guys that it's going to take him 10, 12 games to finally get into where he needs to be.
Right. And I think that, I think he's talented. It's just, I think maybe just pull back the reins a little bit, play a role guy more, play somebody who can, make plays happen without the ball. And I think that's probably what he needs to start doing, just to slow down a little bit. Right. And once he catches on that way, let him have a little bit longer leash and give him, hey, you know what? Go ahead. This game, when we're playing this matchup, blah, blah, blah. Here, you have the green light. Go for it. And then once he hits those, maybe he gains some confidence and he's a little bit better from deep. But just right now, I think they need to put a stop on that. But when we were talking about the plus and minus part and, how he didn't get any assists, this is what I was looking up. Bucky had 7 on Friday, 7 assists, and that's good, right? But he's averaging 5, which, I mean, that's what you want to see from your point guard. But there was that one, I think he hit, you see either Carter Knox or, no, it wasn't because they made it. I think maybe DJ Wagner, where he drove to the basket, just no look pass, threw it to him. I'm like, gosh. Yeah, it was DJ because I said something about it on Twitter. Yeah, that's crazy good. That's like NBA level, passing. So, yeah, he is insane. And I'm glad we have an actual point guard right now. Like last year, I don't feel like they had a point guard. And Anthony Black is a good point guard. He's also like I don't know. He's almost like a forward at the same time.
I was about to say his size. Yeah, he's a point guard in like a forward's body.
Yeah, and it's cool to have a guy that can play like a true point guard and then also create his own shots and then also pull up from deep out of nowhere and just make them. And it's just really fun to see that. It's really cool to have guards that can do that now. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say, if you look at the stats right now on the season, Boogie is shooting 44% from the 3-point line.
Yeah.
He's hit 11 of 25. So, I mean, he can shoot the ball really well. And like you said, he's making those shots, for himself and not having to rely on, somebody else getting him open and things like that.
And those first 2 games were not good from deep. Let me pull it up real quick. But I think he shot it. Let's look. He shot it 8 times against Lipscomb and made 1. And then from there on, he's put it down to like 5 at most. And he went 3 for 5, 2 for 3, 2 for 4, 3 for 5. Only dipping below 60% once. So the reason why his percentage is so down is because of that one game against Lipscomb.
Yeah, you take that out, he's probably shooting, like you said, nearly 60%.
Yeah, hey, dude, keep doing that. Him and Big Z are probably their best 3-point guys. And I really, like I said earlier, I like DJ Wagner whenever he has his feet set. So
yeah,
I think they can have a good 3-point team. 3-point making team. So
I was about to say Big Z is 58% on the season. He's 10 of 17.
3?
Yes. which is
That's
insane,
insane.
especially because he's
Yeah.
a big. But
Yeah.
so I mean, we're seeing continuous improvement out of this basketball team, and I think it's going to continue to get better. We got one more game tomorrow versus MD Eastern. Another
Mhm.
one of those games. Come out, do your thing, get the win. Not sure if we'll see Brazil or Adu. Would like to see them get a few minutes in before, if either of them was going to play against Illinois on Thanksgiving Day. Um, but that's going to be a game for me to watch on Thanksgiving. Is that Illinois game because it's similar to the Baylor game. It's going to be another kind of here's where you're at meter, if you will,
Mhm.
compared to another Power Four. Like how much have we improved since the Baylor game? What have we taken from that game, gotten better, and how do we match up? And can we, get an early season good win to that resume?
Yeah, and I think it'll be because I think Illinois leads the series between Arkansas by like 4 or 5 games, something like that. So it hasn't been a good series for Arkansas. I think they've only beaten Illinois twice in their history playing together. Um, so I think that's going to be a big thing for them, especially after getting beat by Arkansas not last year, the year before in the tournament. So you kind of have that storyline going too. But then there's also what was that guy's name? He Cal Cal recruited him when he first came here, but he ended up going to Illinois. Forgot his
Oh,
name. Illinois basketball. Let's see. He plays center or forward. He's a big guy. Let's
don't
see.
don't know if there's any relation there.
Wait. Am I thinking that he came from Illinois? Hang on. Yeah, I think he came from Illinois. So I'm backwards on that. I haven't done all my research on him yet. So yeah, I forgot his name though. Yeah, once they say, "Hey, we're not coming to Arkansas," you kind of just sometimes forget about guys. And he isn't doing good wherever he is. I can't remember where he decided to go instead, but anyway, no, that's going to be a good game. And then you have 2 more Power 4 conferences. You got Michigan and Miami, and one's in New York, the other one's in Miami. So
Okay,
every Power 4 team they played is going to be on the road this year, which kind of sucks. But
so here's an interesting storyline. Is not the one you're thinking about.
yeah,
Big Z's twin brother plays for Illinois.
yep,
Thomas
sure does.
Tomislav, Tomislav. So he's getting to play against his twin brother. So that's another matchup to look for. That has to be interesting. I didn't even think about that until I was looking at the Illinois roster, and I was like, wait a minute. I was about to say Ivisic is probably not that common of a name. It may be in Croatia,
Yeah.
but in college basketball, probably not. But sure enough, um, that will be a matchup to watch as well.
You know what's crazy is that they talked about it a lot, but there was a guy who played with his I guess a U16 team back in Croatia. There was a guy on Euler's team that played with him. So that's kind of a small world. You get back-to-back games playing guys from your home country. That's pretty cool. Let's see. And he
Definitely not as good of a 3-point shooter as Big Z on the season so far.
no.
He's shooting 27%, 6 of 22, and he's averaging 15.4 points a game and
Yeah.
8.2 rebounds. So he's rebounding the ball a little bit better than his twin, but that'll be a matchup that I'm interested to watch. But one thing I wanted to talk about looking at Illinois' schedule, just as comparison. So we play MD Eastern tomorrow. Illinois played the same team back on November 23rd. So yesterday, I guess it was, yes. They won by 47. They won 87-40.
Yeah.
And then Illinois will actually play Little Rock tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
some
That's
comparison there. And
yeah. Look
then
back at both of them, and then also if you want to look at something to maybe how they're going to do against um good Power 4 teams. They played Alabama too. Let's see,
and lost by 13.
lost by 13. So yeah, but Alabama put 100 on them too. So
Yeah.
Alabama's going to be good this year.
Yeah, I think so too. We saw Alabama did lose to Purdue the other day, but they're still going to be in the top. But at the end of the day, this is going to be a fun game to watch against Illinois. Another good test for this Arkansas team to gauge the progress they made since that Baylor game. Hopefully, I really hope we get to see um, some Trevor Brazile or Jonas Adu, whether or not it's a lot of minutes or not. I'd like to see them get some action in. So, Arkansas will take on MD Eastern tomorrow. And then Thanksgiving Day at the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City, taking on this Illinois team in a nice non-conference, early season test. As kind of after that, you look at some of those games getting a little bit tougher. They play Illinois this Thursday. They play Miami next Tuesday. And then I believe they have a game in between. They play UTSA and then they play Michigan in Madison Square Garden. So some big time matchups upcoming in the next couple weeks for this Arkansas basketball team.
Heck yeah! No, I'm excited.
It will definitely be fun. So rest of this week, not sure if we're going to be able to do a regular season or regular episode this week with the holidays. We will work on that and figure that out. But before we get out of here, just want to shout out happy birthday to Austin. Had some celebration today with your family. How was that?
That was fun. Went and saw my mom and some family and ate at Chili's, and my brother and my brother-in-law. They kept sending me drinks, so I didn't realize it. By the time I was leaving, I had like 10 shots of tequila, and I did not realize that because they kept sending me double shots, and I had no idea it was double shots. So yeah, and then 2 margarita things, little cups, and I was like, oh, this isn't bad, and they're like, yeah, they were doubles. And I was like, you guys suck. So I was like, I have to do a podcast. But that luckily it was lunch. It wasn't dinner. So I ate a whole dinner. So I was good by the time I got on this podcast. So
that's always a fun time though. So
yeah, it was fun. It was good to see them. And then for my birthday, so a little bit about me. I love Bob Ross. I love the everything, about the show and whatnot. And what do you call it? She got me a those panini presses or sandwich presses, but it has Bob Ross's faces on it. I'll send you a picture after this is done. It is hilarious. And they brought my mom and them. They brought me bread and meat and cheese and butter, and that was the first thing I opened. I'm like, what? You guys got me groceries for my birthday? Like, what are you guys doing? And then I opened up Ashley's gift to me, and it was Bob Ross. So
it all made
definitely
sense.
making some sandwiches. Yeah, I did. I was like, that was great. That was awesome. So yeah, it was fun.
Well, that's good to hear. Glad you had a good birthday. Glad you got to join us on your birthday.
Yeah.
And so, hopefully the Razorbacks can get a win tomorrow and the rest of this week and, finish out the season strong for football, continue to progress for basketball. And, we might catch you guys later this week. We might not. That's still up in the air. We'll figure that out. But if not, we'll see you next Sunday for the next Razor recap. And until then, we're going to get out of here. Everybody have great Thanksgiving. Enjoy the holidays. enjoy spending time with your family. I know that's what we're probably both going to do. So enjoy watch some Razorback sports, and we're going to get out of here.